So my name is Tom Largent. I'm the Adjunct Administrator, and today we're just going to go over some important things for winter 2021. I've got some introductions to start with today, and then we'll go in and get into our program with a little changes due to a football game later this afternoon for Zach there. So we'll get going for here. So again, my name is Tom Largent, Adjunct Administrator, and if you do have any questions, feel free, send them in the chat, send me a message, raise your hand, we'll get to them, and we'll go from everything from there. So again, just with proper Zoom, if if you keep your mic on mute while we're presenting or someone else is talking, it's perfect, or raise your hand, we'll get you going. So without further ado, I'll have the building coordinators who are here, your great support team here. I'll have them introduce themselves, and if we have any department leads. So and I guess we'll start with Heather, since she is the first one in my screen.
You didn't really have to start with me, Tom, but good morning, everyone. It's so great to see so many faces. I really miss seeing you all. No, I'm still here to back you all up, to help Tom in any way. So this isn't our normal Saturday where everybody's drinking the coffee and just being able to chat and talk. And I miss that. I miss seeing you all and getting to be personable with you all. So welcome again, and I hope we have a great semester.
We'll have David go next, or Mosby, as it is on my.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Dave Mosby. I'm out of the James McNitt Hall. Looking forward to seeing everybody. I'll be on campus again soon. Not sure when exactly I'm supposed to go back to campus. Haven't been told yet, but I know that I'm one of those people that'll be there. So you guys take care. If you need anything, just stop on and have a good day.
And then Karen.
Good morning, everybody. I do miss seeing all of you, so I do love these Zoom chats when we do put our video screens on. I'm here to support you any way, shape, or form that I can. If I don't know the answers or where to go, I'll certainly find out for you. So let me do the legwork for you. You guys are busy enough, and we appreciate everything you do and your commitment to the students in Jackson College. And the sun is out, so that's awesome.
And I think, Tom, you might be the only faculty lead.
Yep. Hey, good morning, everybody. Tom McNitt. I am the chair of the Liberal Arts Department. And I, like the Heather and Karen and David, I miss everybody. If you weren't at the training this week, one of our presenters did have a DJ. I think we've made a switch. We're all going to have DJs during our Zoom meeting. So I will echo what my esteemed colleagues have said. If you have any questions, let us know. We are here. TomIsABomb.com, really. Thank you. If you have any questions, easily distracted on a Saturday morning, we're here to help. So have a great one, and we'll see you around.
Okay, and then we'll go to our deans.
I guess I'll go first since Dr. Butler's staying a little quiet. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Rutkowski. I'm the Dean of Nursing and Allied Health, and just quickly adopted the DJ role. So if you guys need anything, you can always reach out to me. I've been working really close with everyone to bring people back on campus. Some of you might have worked with me and on integration plans, and I come around and visit while we're all here. I'm really excited. I truly believe the adjuncts are what moves Jackson College. I know without mine, I would be completely lost. I've called on them more than once. I think they know some of my programs better than I do. So when I say I think that you're absolutely the center of our faculty, you truly are. And I definitely mean that from the bottom of my heart. So thank y'all, rock stars.
Thank you, DJ Heather. Just a few things. Todd Butler here, Dean of Arts and Sciences. And a reminder that when David and Heather in particular introduce themselves, they are still here to help you. Please reach out to them if you're having trouble change of grade form, syllabus template, even sometimes questions about JetNet. These two are pretty tech savvy, and they're also very willing to help. And I know that you can feel like you're on an island out there. You might have been more likely if you were in Burt Walker Hall or in James McDivitt Hall to ask them for help, but they are there, and they will be there when you need them. So please reach out for assistance. If you're back and you were here Thursday evening, thank you. Thank you very much for coming back. Thank you for blessing us with your presence again. It was a privilege to be with you on Thursday evening, or I'm sorry, Wednesday evening it was, to be together as a group, to share a few things, to listen to some words from President Phelan, and most importantly, to hear some of your thoughts as you were processing the events of that day. And I hope that you take some time to be with each other today and to continue processing those pieces. So thank you very much. I want you to scroll down to the bottom of your screen, and two different ways to do it. You can either hit reactions, and when I ask, you can give like a thumbs up or a hand, or you could go to participants and then click on another box opens and you could raise your hand. But I want to scroll through these screens right now and see how many of you have taught in PEI, CEP over the years. It's been about 8 years. How many of you have taught in CEP, PEI over the years? Please give those reactions so that we can light up these screens and see. Maybe some folks are still trying to figure out how to do those buttons, but if you get them, go ahead. I'm going to do my reaction of the hand here. Okay. Somebody else waving a hand. Okay. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what's transpired in December and what that means across the country. If you didn't see it, certainly understandable. And that is that shortly before the last Congress ended their sessions in 2020, there was a repeal of the 1994 ban on Pell for incarcerated individuals. When that bill went into effect in 1994, it shut down effectively our program. It was a couple months later that the state of Michigan and many other states withdrew their funding as well. And that shut down our program in 1994, which was one of the largest, if not the largest in the country. In 2012, President Phelan asked us to meet with the Michigan Department of Corrections to begin a program. It started very haltingly in that 2012. We started with 18 students. We went up to 40 students, 50. These were all private pay students whose families had an ability to pay for them. And I remember so many students at these call outs. We met 450 individuals saying, I don't have the money. It's not fair. How can I do it? And then just a year and a half later, Cindy Allen and I were invited to a meeting in Lansing, and we were somewhat confused as to what the meeting was about. I remember both of us driving up there and trying to figure out what was going on. And we went into a very, very large conference room, and there were probably 30 people sitting around these large tables. And we were heard for the first time the words Vera Institute, the name Vera Institute, and the title Pathways from Prison, Unlocking Potential. And we learned shortly thereafter that the Kellogg Foundation would be funding us here in Michigan. The Ford Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the Sunshine Lady Foundation, and others had all come together to run a 3-state demonstration project on awarding Pell. And in that room on that day was the Rand Corporation, who was hired as an outside evaluator to evaluate over time what happens to this group of students who were exposed to higher education, and many of whom who left with degrees, and a control group of as close as could be to that identical piece of our students, and what would happen over time to them. And they were able to quickly demonstrate and have continued to demonstrate the efficacy of prison education. Within a couple of years, a team, if any of you remember Deborah Swihart, she and I were sitting in a room with the then Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan, and a room of about maybe again 20 people, 25 people, 30 people, talking about what these programs could do, and hoping for something that would come about a year later called Second Chance Pell. And when Second Chance Pell came, our president was there, as was I, and one of our students was there. And Mr. Bell spoke very eloquently for our program. Our president spoke very eloquently, and Secretary John King was in the room. And we were certainly soonly thereafter awarded the largest Second Chance Pell allotment in the nation. And in December, your work opened that up to every single incarcerated individual in the nation. All of those of you who raised your hand, all of those who have driven to distant prisons, who have sat at the gate waiting what feels like an endless amount of time to get in, who've gotten in and been locked down, found your students weren't called out, you didn't have the materials you needed, you were frustrated. For all of you who stayed and you had the incredibly rewarding experience of working with our incarcerated students at 10 different facilities at one point across the state, that work has paid off, and it has paid a dividend to every single incarcerated individual in the nation. And we owe a huge debt to your work because it has changed lives. It wasn't about enrollments. That's not what got us Second Chance Pell extended to every student. It was because it was effective. Because as your students were leaving the facilities, and even before they left the facilities, they were demonstrating profound changes in who they are and what they expect of themselves, what they know they can do, and what they expect from their families. And I just want to say thank you one more time to every one of you who had a hand in that historic process. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Butler, for that. And we will get going with our program today. So first up is going to be Student Services with Zach McNitt, our registrar, and the Associate Dean of Student Services. There's Nate Venske. And we'll get going from there. So Zach, do you want me to share that PowerPoint that you sent me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
All right, well, while Tom gets that going, I'll introduce myself. My name is Zach McNitt. I'm the registrar. I work in student services, as Tom said. We kind of oversee a lot, and we're going to share a lot of information today. And I just want to reiterate, and I will throughout mine and Nathan's portion, that we're here to help you guys. And if you ever need anything, to reach out to us or reach out to your building coordinators, and we will 100% assist you. So if some of this seems a little, if you don't grasp it 100, that's okay. There's multiple people that'll help you. All these resources are available on the faculty resource page as well. So if, like I said, if you don't fully get it, you can go back and review it. So I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not fully getting this. What am I going to do when class starts? So there's plenty of people that will help you when this gets going. So I'm going to start real big and then kind of shrink it down to the PowerPoint that Tom's going to show you today, that Tom's going to show us today for screenshots. The reason I'm here today is for grade and attendance reporting. Nathan will cover the retention alert portion when I'm done. The reason why this is so important for faculty, whether it's full-time or adjuncts, is because the Department of Education awards Jackson College financial aid for students who are eligible, and they're called Title IV funds. However, we are not allowed to continue to do that unless we have a secure way to ensure that students are actually participating and attending their classes and not just taking their money and then kind of bailing. So 2 years ago, we shifted this responsibility to faculty kind of fully, and we did that by the means of faculty taking attendance and faculty submitting what we call last date of attendance. Okay. Now, the reason we do this is because faculty hold the power to remove students from your roster. If you have a student who's not attending, stops participating, anything like that, you guys have the power to then kick them from your roster. And we're going to go through that process today. Now, the reason that that's important is because if you don't do that and the end of the term comes around and you go to submit final grades and you realize, hey, student X, I haven't seen him in 2 months. And then you try to drop him at the end of the term, Jackson College is subject to penalty and we have to return that financial aid. And as you know, if you get too many penalties, then you kind of trigger an audit and then you can get in a lot of trouble if you're not doing, if we're not doing our job appropriately. I'm going to have Tom bounce to the next slide, please. Now, this is the screen within Jetstream that you're going to do kind of your drops in, and I'm going to tell you how all this works. Again, if you have specific questions, there's plenty of people that can help you with this, so don't freak out if you've never seen this before. Every course at Jackson College has what's called a census date. Okay, a census date is kind of, for lack of a better term, the lock-in date. If you're teaching a 7-week class, it's normally 4 to 5 days into the class. If you're teaching a 15-week class, it's 10 days into the class. Once that census date passes, your roster then finalizes. And what that means is we report your roster to the feds to tell them that these are the people that are attending. We also then disperse financial aid to their accounts and we bill the students. So once that census date passed, it's like, okay, we're locked in, we're ready to go, let's do this. The reason that's important is because how we treat our rosters before the census date and how we treat our rosters after the census date are a little bit different. You guys will all receive an email from the dean's office with your census date for your courses. So if you're wondering what the date is for your courses, you will receive all that information from the dean's office from Karen Hochter. And she is amazing at that, and she's a great resource for you all. Now, when you log into Jetstream, you'll be able to access your course, as you can see here to the left, and you'll go to the grading tab where you see that red number 1. Now, in here, you'll see that there's 2 boxes highlighted. One says never attended. The other one says last date of attendance. Okay, now here's where it's a little different. If you are going to drop somebody before your census date, okay, so before or on your census date, we want you to use the never attended field. Okay, because if you drop somebody on or before your census date and you click that box because they haven't been there or they haven't been participating, it automatically removes them from your class. It also ensures that they don't get billed. It also ensures that financial aid does not disperse to their account, and it ensures that they don't get reported to the National Student Clearinghouse as an attending student. Okay. Then you'll see next to it, there's a last date of attendance. We use this field for after your census date, okay? Because as you know, we have students that will attend their class, the first couple weeks, and then as the semester kind of goes on, they may fade off or we lose them or life happens. There's several circumstances. So the reason that field is different is the Department of Education requires us to submit the last time that a faculty member had contact with a student. Okay, so if it's after the census date and you've lost contact with a student, they've stopped participating, they stopped attending, it'll be your responsibility to go into this field and enter the last date that maybe they submitted an assignment, the last date that you contacted them via email or spoke to them, and you'll submit that date there. Okay, now, this is, some of you may ask, well, what triggers this date? And I'm going to give you an answer, and it's not going to be very helpful. It is up to the faculty member to determine what participation is. Okay, so if you call and ask, hey, when should I drop somebody? My answer back to you is going to be, well, when did they stop attending? What do you determine was their last date of participation? Okay, now what we do ask, kind of a parameter. If you're going to drop somebody or submit a last date of attendance, your last date of attendance should be within 2 weeks of the date that you're submitting it. So, what we don't want to have happen is you guys submit a last date of attendance, but it was 60 days prior. The reason I say that is the Department of Education requires Jackson College to update enrollments and financial aid within 30 days of the student being dropped. So there's a process that we have to do if you drop somebody that takes some time. So if you let us know within 14 days after the student stopped participating that gives our financial aid office, you know, another 2 weeks to try to process and change that. So that's kind of the rules that we go to. So now with that, hold on just a second. Okay, so with that, those are kind of the rules that we follow. That's the process in general of why we do this. You're also going to receive in your email of your census date, you're going to have what's called a last date of withdrawal. Okay, so now what that means is when that date comes in your class, you can no longer remove anybody from your roster. Okay, so once we get to that date and we passed it, you will not be allowed to remove anybody from your class. So that's important to keep in mind, because if you're not kind of keeping up to date with your attendance and that date passes, you are going to be required to submit, you know, final grades for anyone that's on your roster. And that's kind of where we've ran into problems in the past, is when faculty go to submit their final grades, they realize, oh, this person hasn't been here, I'm just going to go drop them. Well, it's not that easy to do, because we have to report those last date of withdrawals to the feds, and it's not as easy to go change those. So it's very important that you monitor where you're at in your process. So and then the last thing I want to say, when you go to submit your final grades, which you can see on the screen here, so when you're entering grades for your class, when you're entering final grades, all you submit is a final grade. You should not submit any last date of attendance along with your final grades. Several times we'll get a 2.0 for a student, but then a last date of attendance that was 2 or 3 weeks prior. And then we have to contact you and say, hey, did the student actually complete the class? Were you trying to drop the student? If you're submitting a final grade, there should be no last date of attendance issued. Okay. Now, the most common question we get is, you know, what if a student attended the first day of the class that was before the census date, but then stopped attending and now the census date has passed? What do I do? What we ask faculty to do in that circumstance is submit a last date of attendance, even if your census date is passed. Submit the last day that you saw them, and then my office will handle that and make the adjustments, and we'll contact the National Student Clearinghouse to make the adjustment. We don't like to do that, but it happens. Kind of every process you're going to hear today is going to have an exception. That's just the way that it is, and we're here to help you through that. But collectively, in a nutshell, this is the process. I know it sounds like a lot, and I know it sounds like a heavy burden. This is very much a common practice at most institutions, and this is how we do it here. And I would, like I said, encourage you to utilize your building coordinators. Tom Largen's the best in the business. I'd encourage you to reach out to him, and don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone else in student services, and we'll be very happy to help.
Zach, there was a question about dual enrolled students, about dropping them.
Great. Yes. Thank you, Tom. Excellent. Okay. So dual enrolled students are a little different. I'd let you all know we normally have around 5,000 students enrolled. We have over 1,100 dual enrolled students. So there's a good chance you're going to have a dual enrolled student in your course. If you submit a drop for a dual enrolled student because they've stopped participating, dual enrolled students are the only population where the drop is not instant. And there's a reason why. We have to reach out to the high school, because the high school gets money for students, obviously, that attend their high school. They get their state appropriation of like $8,000 per student. Now, if they take a college class, the high school reports that to the state, and that can adjust their funding. So it's not as simple for us just to drop a student and kick them out, because their status at the high school may change, which means the high school may take a financial penalty. And we obviously don't want to do that to our local school districts. So if you submit a drop for a dual enrolled student and they don't disappear right away, it's because when that comes in, we contact the school district principal and guidance counselor, and we go through billing arrangements and options to ensure that the student or the high school is not penalized. And those communications will be sent back to you, because sometimes the high school, it's better for the high school for the student to stay in your class and fail the course than it is for the student to drop the course. And we will communicate that with you. That was a good question. Thank you, Tom. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Like I said, I know this is a lot of information. Don't let it overwhelm you, and don't let it put too much pressure on you. We're all here to support you, and we're happy to support you. But this is kind of my portion of the day, just where all of your grading stuff is going to take place. Tom, if you want to release, my email and contact information, please feel free to do that. But with that, if there's no more questions, the other part of this is the retention alert, and that's going to come to Nathan Venske, our Assistant Dean of Student Services.
Well, thanks, Zach. As Zach said, I'm Nathan Venske. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Services. There's a lot of pandemonium going on at my house right now. So if you see some little blonde hair girls running around, that's what's going to be happening today. So as Zach said, you guys have a great person and a great contact person in Tom. Tom was a navigator here for about 5 years and one of the best we've had since I've been here, if not the best. So having him and his organization and his support that he can give you guys is going to be fantastic moving forward. So if he can't answer something, he can definitely get you to the right place very quickly. So on that though, with retention alert, Tom, do we have a few minutes to show the video that Terry put together? It's about 5 minutes. Thank you. I cannot hear it yet. While Tom's looking to pull that up, I'll talk a little bit about the navigator expectation. So once you do submit a retention alert, and then once that starts playing, I can just cut off and jump back in. But so when you do submit a retention alert, you want to go ahead and try it, Tom? And if it starts working, I can jump back in. Perfect.
Hello, Jackson College faculty. Retention Alert was designed as a comprehensive tracking system to help with early identification of at-risk students, provide effective intervention for those students, and prevent negative academic outcomes. Retention Alert system allows for timely reporting, effective intervention, and sustained follow-up, which can impact the student's success and ultimately retention. In addition, Retention Alert allows for detailed notes from instructors about specific student behaviors so appropriate actions can be taken by navigators. A Retention Alert case can be initiated at any time and should be created as soon as necessary. It is important to know that this process is not intended to replace normal instructor-student contact for intervention. It was designed to be an effective supplement to the normal instructor-student experience. IT has been sunsetting e-services and transferring all services to Jetstream. As part of the final transition, Retention Alert has now been moved to Jetstream as well. Although the process in Jetstream is very similar to the process from e-services, there are some distinct differences. This video will walk you through the process in Jetstream. First, log into Jetstream. Then you're going to click on the Faculty tab, and you're going to search for the course in which the student you're going to initiate a Retention Alert case for is in. In this case, BUA 121. Next, you'll scroll down and look for the student that you want to initiate a Retention Alert case for. In this case, Scrooge McDuck. I'm going to copy the student ID number, and then I'm going to go back to the Jetstream homepage. Next, I will click on the Retention Alert tab, and I'm going to paste student ID and press return. This pulls up the student. You can also put in last name, comma, first name, but I highly recommend you use the student ID to ensure you get the right student. Using name will bring up any student with the name or similar name, including students that are not actively participating at Jackson College. Next, you'll click on their name, and then you can click on the drop-down bar, and you can choose the behavior. In this case, I'm going to say poor attendance. Here you're going to type in the course ID, and then you're going to add notes. The notes should be specific and use descriptive language so the navigator gets a full story of what's going on. So in this case, Scrooge has missed 3 of the last 4 class sessions. and 6 total class sessions. Here you should also include how you've tried to contact the student so the navigator knows what you have tried to do to intervene for this behavior. So I'm going to tell the navigator that I've emailed them and I've called and left a message for the student. Next, click Save. The retention alert will automatically go to the appropriate navigator. If you want to follow up with some retention alert cases, you can click on My Contributions. Then make sure where it says Cases I Own, you hit Include so that all of your cases will pop up. And then it shows all my cases. If you want to check on a specific case, you can click View Details. And if the navigator has left any notes, you'll see their notes here. If you want to add additional notes, for example, if Scrooge returned your email or your phone call, you can type in notes here so the navigator knows the communication has happened. Now the status will tell you where we're at with the retention alert case. If it says active, that means the navigator has at least seen this case. If it says new, the navigator has not yet looked at the case. One last thing that I want to mention is retention alert is not for dropping a student for not attending. You must use the last day of attendance or never attended option in Jetstream under grades to drop a student from the course for non-attendance. If you have any further questions, please reach out to either Sue Reisner from IT or myself, Terry Anderson from the Center for Student Success.
All right. So that's the step-by-step on how you can get through it. Tom, can I share my screen for a brief minute? Are you okay with that?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So some of you are familiar with how to get here, but to get there, if you need access to that, or if you don't have the link or whatever the case may be that has been sent out, you just go to our homepage. You can go to Employee Central. I'm sure you've been shown stuff similar to this the whole day and have been. Let me move this, my pictures of you all. You can go to Faculty. After Employee Central, again, Faculty. When you first log into Employee Central, for those of you who are newer, you will have to use your single sign-on in order to get in. And once you do get in, select Faculty, as I said. Training and tutorials. There you'll see attendance and retention alert, and that's where that video that Tom just showed, that exact video will pop up in that section, as well as if you want to get the nice PDF that gives screenshots throughout exactly what you need to do in order to facilitate submitting a retention alert. So thank you, Tom. So that's how you go about submitting a retention alert. So what is a retention alert and why do we do them? Retention alert is just an early alert prompt. These are not required by any kind of policy. It's more of a practice that we do here. And just so everyone's aware, as I started talking before this started, it's an expectation of the navigators that we respond to them as quickly as possible, similar to emails. We do, unfortunately, we have extended the response time just with COVID and everything of that, and some changing of the navigators' roles and responsibilities due to COVID. The time to address emails and address retention alerts and address phone calls has diminished just due to some other responsibilities, specifically fielding the live chat. Navigators, our live chat service on our homepage is really staffed by the navigators throughout the entire day, with either one, predominantly two navigators at once throughout the day. And that takes about 5 to 7 hours, depending on the navigator and their schedule of the week. So about 20% of their time is spent on live chat, which we did not do before, which obviously has diminished the amount of times that they can respond. And then there's some other changes that have happened, which again, limit the response time. In faculty learning days, it was brought up that the response time of 72 hours may be too long. And I agree. Unfortunately, I just want to be clear about the expectations from the navigators that we try to get done in 24 hours. We used to be a deadline of 48 hours, but just given everything else that's going on, at least during peak times and registrations, it's going to be probably closer to that 48 to 72 hours. If you do not hear back within 72 hours from your navigator, or you don't hear back from a navigator at all, you can always please feel free to contact me at any point in time. So if you feel like there's an issue with a student that you're not getting addressed through your navigator, through retention alert or anything like that, I am always available. So you can always feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to assist, or at least, again, prompt a navigator to get on it, right? So that is something that you can always do, and I'm more than happy to take those emails. So the navigator, again, is supposed to be checking them daily. During peak times, it's probably every other day. And if it's daily, it's just, again, funneling through them. You will see that when it says active, that means a navigator has opened the case, as was discussed. Okay. Got a daughter cleaning up floor over here, so she's doing a great job. So in regards to some other things, I'm just going to pull up my notes about retention alerts.
I'm not going back on Monday.
Thank you. Some other notes, just top things to cover, and then I'll get to your questions. That's no problem. Just looking through my notes here. 3 days retention alert data guidelines. So in faculty learning days, we had about 6 questions of scenario-based questions. Really, it was just reiterating the fact that when you submit a retention alert case, again, there are no policies around this. We just ask, the standard operating procedure is for a navigator to call the student and email the student, and then follow up with the faculty members. Those are the standard procedures. Once you get it, you need to outreach to the student in 2 different ways, a phone call and an email, and then follow up with the faculty member. Even if it's just, hey, email them and call them, have not heard back, or anything like that. So it's very important to me and our department that we follow up with faculty members, especially if you're taking the time to submit a retention alert. With that being said, one thing that we're requesting moving forward is just more context when we get some of these retention alerts. At times we just get one line, and it's very difficult to really have a conversation with a student when we outreach to them. So if you can put in context in there, not, again, a transcribed conversation, but just high point summaries of what has been discussed with the student. If you have even outreach to the student, just putting that stuff in there. If it is somewhere along the lines of classroom management with disruptive behavior, having those conversations, we ask that you guys address that first. And if there continues to be higher level issues, then we can, outreach to the student as well. But in general, the early alert cases are not really meant for classroom behavior and managing the classroom, even in a virtual environment. That's not really something that we can address. Now, if someone expresses something that may be concerning in there, you can definitely always outreach to us and we can follow up. On that same note, having conversations with different faculty members, sometimes it's been said that you send us a retention alert and you don't really even want a response. So if you don't want a response, if you can put that in there, that's fine. If you're just like, hey, giving you a heads up, refer the student to the Oasis Center, for instance, perfect. That is perfect time to do a retention alert case. It's great to know, and then we can outreach to the student accordingly. But at least then we know, like, do you want to follow up or do you not? And again, further down that same line, if you are looking for a certain type of response, if you can let us know that too in the retention alert, that would be great. So if you want to be followed up in a certain way, or you're expecting the student to follow up in a certain way, definitely let us know so we can convey that to the student and we understand how you would like us to follow up. Like I said, this is where things are very gray in this world for early alerts. And just definitely, as I tell my staff to use their discretion, use your discretion if you feel as though it's appropriate for a retention alert case, and that'll be fine. And I think I saw some questions pop up, but I think Zach's addressing some of them. Let me see my notes for one last thing, and then I'll get you some of your questions. Oh, another issue that we have discussed recently are outside influences, where we hear at times, we'll get a retention alert and says, well, we're going to drop this student, but I don't know if they're in housing or athletics. It won't be as common probably for this upcoming semester, but it is my opinion and judgment that do not worry about that as you're doing retention alert cases, or if you're dropping students. As long as you are doing and following what's outlined in your syllabus and your expectations of your syllabus, I am fine with that, and we'll have to live with that. I would not recommend that making judgment calls based on what's going on in your individual classroom on outside influences that the student's involved in, be it scholarships, housing, athletics, that shouldn't come into play, nor should it come into play where a navigator should push back on you and make a comment that, well, you know, the students in housing. If that happens, please let me know immediately. If you do send a retention alert that says, hey, drop this student if they don't respond to me in 3 days, they have not been participating, X, Y, and Z, as this documented, these are our conversations, then we can outreach to the student, and if they get dropped and they're in housing, we can deal with that stuff on the back end, right? That's part of what our role is to deal with those messes as they pop up, as students find themselves in those situations based on choices or whatever the situation may arise. Be it, again, I know COVID's a big thing, people being sick, but then we can help people go through our systems and structures and appeal processes. That's where our roles fall. But I would never put you all in that situation and make decisions based on other, again, things that students are. Well, I don't want to drop the student because they're an athlete or they might get kicked out of housing. As long as I mean, that's your choice if you want to make that decision, but to do a retention alert based on that, we really don't need that. If you just want to give us a heads up that you might be backing the student out, but in general, we can do those things. We can have those conversations. So that's what would happen. As an outcome for some of these things with drops and also retention alerts, we brought this up in faculty learning days too. And I just want you guys to be aware, like just normal procedures that we follow in academic advising. If a student is dropped from your class, regardless if there's a retention alert or not, if a student comes into the navigator office because they are dropped, or a navigator not even coming in, right? If they virtually contact the navigator, the way that it goes, if someone wants to be put back in your class, is to contact the instructor. We don't do a blanket response that if the students drop, we don't send automatic responses or even have our first step of conversation to be, well, to get back in this class, you need to contact the instructor. Typically what happens is a student will discuss this with the navigator that they need to get back into class for X, Y, and Z. And then the process to get back into class is to contact their instructor. So at times students will say, well, my navigator told me to outreach to you, which is absolutely true, but the context matters. It's not like we're just directing every student to faculty members to get back into classes. It is because conversations typically revolve like, hey, I need to get back in this class. And the only way for that to happen is obviously with your permission. If you choose to do so or not, that's completely up to you. You can use your discretion. You could be a faculty member that has your own ways of setting things up, and you can say no once you drop a student, and then and if you let them in or not, like that is fine, and we'll live with those outcomes. So please make sure that you have our support in regards to that. You have my support from student services in regards to that. It's just I think at times when we get those emails when the students are contacting us, it feels like, hey, navigators are just pushing this to us. We do push that to you because the only way for a student to get back in that class is through you. It's not through us. Like we can't grant that permission. So and we can't tell a student no. A student has a right to outreach to you. So that's why we provide that as an option. If a student says, well, how can I get back in this class? That's how. So I think that covers most of it. Does anyone have any questions? Did anything pop up, Tom or Zach, in the chat that I should address? It looks like a bunch came in, so I'll give some awkward silence here for a minute while I catch up, unless someone just wants to pop in and ask a question. That would help too. I see something for CEP students. As you do for your own default. Use the same job process. So, yep, the retention alert process, that in the CEP learning days, which I think is in a couple weeks, I forget the exact day or night it is, we're going to discuss retention alert processes. That's being ironed out right now with Bobby and the CEP staff. It's going to be a little bit very similar, but like a little bit different. Not terribly different, but we're trying to iron out some of those details. There might be some capabilities in retention alert. I hate talking about this because it may never come to fruition, but of just doing that communication inside of retention alert and giving faculty members the same types of accesses that the navigators have. And that way you can just do that communication within that software or in that platform, I'm sorry, and not have to just go back and forth with emails and whatnot. I mean, you can sit up here, okay? Then I'm almost done. Should have muted that. All right. So never got a response back. Let me know if students been contacted as normal practice. So Holly's question, I think I touched that a little bit. I'm not sure if I was talking about it before. So for Holly, if you don't hear back from a navigator within, again, I would say that 72-hour time at this point in time, you can definitely reach out to me. And that's perfectly fine. The normal practice is that, yes, you should be hearing feedback, unless moving forward, like I said, we're rolling all this out. If you don't want to be responded to, please let us know. And if you want to be responded to in a particular way, like what you're looking for from the student, or if you're looking for the student just to respond to you and you just want us because you're having trouble contacting with them, definitely let us know and we can make sure we follow up in the manner in which you want us to. But if you're not hearing back from the navigator, you should at a minimum be hearing back that they outreach to the student. So even if we can't get a hold of them, the navigator should be letting you know if, or not if, that they at least called and emailed the student and left a voicemail, and we'll let the student know to contact you or whatever the case may be based on your specific retention alert.
Daddy, I just wish I could do this.
I know, we're gonna do that in a minute. So I see another question. I'm almost done. How many retention?
Well, the gold is not almost to that poofy dress.
I know, she's not. We're watching Godmothered, if you guys haven't seen it on Disney, and I gave them a timeline when she gets in a poofy dress at a party. So that's my timeline here. So move forward with last date of attendance for non-participation. How many retention alerts? So when it comes to how many, there's not a policy. Again, this is just something we do in order to help students in their retention. And yeah, you can go some raspberries. They're on the counter. Good job. So the how many retention alerts is just, there's not an exact number. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do any retention alerts. There's not a policy that says you have to do them. This is more of a practice thing. That's where I say using your discretion is paramount in this regard. Like if students are just missing assignments typically and we get those, we'll outreach to them for sure, and then we'll follow back up. But again, having something with context always helps. But to your direct question, how many retention alerts do you do? It could be 0, it could be 5, whatever you see fit for whatever aligns, again, most closely with your syllabus and the expectations you've given the students has really been my standard line lately. Has just been, as long as you've been clear with the students what your expectations are, if you've done a couple of retention alerts, they're still not responding, or if you've done none, you still have outlined those expectations at the beginning of the class, and that is what they're expected to follow, obviously. So you're perfectly within your right, like I said, to drop those people based on your syllabus, and I would support you in doing so. Thank you. She's very nice. Any other questions? Or Zach or Dr. Butler or Tom, is there anything that I missed or didn't cover? Or Monica, you're on here too, I saw.
Nate, thank you for answering questions and being here this morning. I know you have a lot on your plate. And thanks also for just being a good dad. Now, did I hear you correctly? You said you're going to go get in a poofy dress?
Yes, I have many poofy dresses in this house.
Okay, all right, okay. I got it.
But Todd, to your question, everyone's doing good. No one's
good to hear. You guys take care.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Thank you, Nate, and Zach. Definitely from there. And also for the attendance, there are a couple of videos too. I will be adding those to the email when I send out this recording link about just step-by-step of how to do attendance in Jetstream or JetNet, because Jetstream, or if you have a synchronous session or a hybrid session or a face-to-face session, you can do attendance in Jetstream. But if you have a completely internet-based learning section, you will do that in JetNet, and that will be there'll be an attendance in there. And I know Karen Hockner sent out emails yesterday, calendar invites, just reminding you that attendance is due every Thursday by midnight from there. But I will also be sending those videos out as kind of a reminder of how to do those in my email later. I'm just reading that chat really quick. I think that is a great response by Monica right there. If you know, it's definitely up to the instructor of how you want to handle that. Always with grades, or always what you decide with whether dropping a student or grading them. You know, it is on the instructor's thing from there. You know, you don't need to worry about the outside forces, because you know it'll get handled. As a navigator, as myself for a long while, and talking with students through there, you know, it definitely is a spot from there. So, and like Zach said, that students do have that right to fail, but it does depend if they're actually trying in that course. So thank you for that. And without further ado, we're going to just slide right into Monica Bouman session with CSS and talking about our first gen students. And then we'll take a tiny break after that before we finish up with Jen Adams and questions if you have anything. So without further ado, we'll start with Monica.
Thank you, Tom. I know that you guys are needing a break, so I'll try to be concise and quick in the next 10-15 minutes. So I know a lot of faces on the call and names, but for those that don't know me, my name is Monica Bouman, and I'm our Center for Student Success Director here at the Central Campus, and then also our institution's Disability and Inclusion Officer. So what that means from my end is one of my day-to-day duties to our students is to meet with them if they have come forth and have a registered documented disability. So that's one of the big things that I wanted to cover with you today, is that if you encounter a student that self-discloses, of course, in accordance with ADA, the American Disability Association law, you cannot ask a student if they have a disability. I want to make that point. But if a student comes to you and self-discloses, please send them my way, or to Sandy DeCesar in our Center for Student Success. I will show you her in a moment when I go through our website. So again, I am our disability officer on campus. So if you do have a student that self-discloses, or you think they may have a disability, please feel free to make that referral. I can have some crafty conversations with them in hopes to get to the root of that disability, and then get them the accommodations that they need. And so that's the second part of what I do, is I connect those accommodations to the students that they need in and outside the classroom. And then I communicate that to you as the faculty member. So shortly, probably tomorrow, and then in the wee hours of Monday morning, you may or may not see an email from me if you have a student on your roster that has a documented disability. And if you ever have any questions about that, if it's the first time you're receiving one of those emails from me, again, I don't mind, ask away, and I can have a conversation with you, Zoom meeting, whatever you're comfortable with. So with that, now that we have that disability piece out of the way, and I do see I have a couple folks from my team on the call. I see Virginia, good morning. And I also saw Ariel, but she's no longer on my first screen. Oh, there you are. So I may be pointing to them for a brief comment because they're on the, and are you good, Tom, if I share my screen? Awesome. Okay. So can everyone see that? Can I just get a couple head nods? Awesome. Okay. So this is our Center for Student Success page, and it's gone through quite a revamp since we went remote. So for some of you, I know Candace led a breakout session in which I took us through our page. So some of this might be review for some of you, but even if a student has a simple question or needs a special needs accommodation, they can somewhat sometimes students are just afraid to ask. So this gives them a little bit of anonymity, even though they are giving their name. But if that makes sense, they don't have to like walk into the center or tell us. They can just simply submit a question to us, and then we can address it that way, hopefully to break that ice, a little bit less pressure. I did absolutely want to cover our writing center. So in the Center for Student Success, we are much more than just tutoring, as we always say. We have a fully functioning writing center, even though it is remote. And we've created a page now that we've gone mostly online so that students can actually see the ladies that work in the center. So you'll see Pam Fitzgerald. She's actually a former principal of Jackson High. She was one of my instructors many, many moons ago. We won't say how many years. Miss Virginia, who is on our Zoom meeting today, Kim, and Sandy. And each bring a unique approach to the students that they work with. And they all have different followings from students. They get many repeat visits from students from all campuses. So again, there's our writing center, a little bio next to their name. So that way a student can actually see who they're going to be working with. We thought that was a nice thing to add when we went virtual. Virginia, did you want to speak if you're okay? I can't see you because I'm sharing my screen, but Virginia's on the call, and I just want to emphasize too that it's more than just writing. So it doesn't have to necessarily be an English 131 or 132 paper. Virginia, did you want to speak to some of the things that you help students with?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Nice to see lots of familiar faces. What we usually do at the center, at the writing center, is when a student comes in for the first time, there's several questions that are standard. First, who's your instructor? What's the assignment? Do you have the assignment rubric and the assignment sheet? And that's really important because a lot of times students will say, oh, I'm supposed to write a research paper. I don't have a topic. I don't know what I'm expected to do. So what we do at that point is most of the time, well, actually all the time, the syllabus is in the JetNet course. So we pull up their JetNet course and go over what's expected for that particular assignment. But more than that, many students really are confused about understanding instructions, directions, or how to figure out what's needed. So it's really more than just the grammar and the mechanics and all that, but really helping them tackle different assignments, and not just for writing, but we tutor them in all kinds of humanities, at least for the writing faculty. We've tutored students in music, in art history, in psychology, sociology, anthropology. So pretty much when they have to write papers, they have to look at articles, we help them go through what's expected and then have them do a draft and then work with them on that draft. Obviously, we don't write any papers for them. We have them bring us the drafts that we can maybe help them strengthen. So,
thank you, Virginia. They also help with test anxiety, organization. They're kind of a jack of all trades, so to speak. So kudos to the ladies in the Writing Center. Also, if they are themselves busy, they often make referrals to our Writing Fellows, which is an established program under the advisement of faculty member Diana Agee. So oftentimes if we're busy in the center, or if it's that peer portion of the comm classes in particular, we will refer them to the Writing Fellows, which used to be right down the hall, but now that we're virtual, we're just referring them to that portion of the website. So thanks again, Virginia. And then quickly, I just wanted to show you, we also have a federally funded program on campus called TRIO, and we have a new director. His name is Peter Jeffy. So I'm going to go to the contact page so you can kind of put a face to a name. There's Peter, very dapper. He is so excited to be with us. It's been a very unique situation. We brought him on virtually, actually, as a new employee through this pandemic, but he has hit the ground running. He's made lots of connections across campus. He's doing some great things with Ready, Set, Jet. He's planning a summer symposium this year. But before I'm putting the cart before the horse. So for those that do not know what TRIO is, it's a federally funded program. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily stand for anything. TRIO just means 3 different federal grants that combine together. They serve first generation, Pell eligible, and differently abled students. And overall, they have great success rates. They can serve up to about 150 students a year, and there are openings right now. So if you have any students that could use a little bit of extra help, they provide additional tutoring, advising, mentoring, professional development, assistance in transferring to 4-year institutions, financial support. They have TRIO grant aid that they can award to the students that become registered with TRIO. They have learning opportunities, living learning communities with linked courses that's coming down the pike this next year. It's just a lot, it's just extra hands-on assistance for students. So again, first generation Pell eligible, differently abled students. You can refer them right to this website if that's easiest. They have a newly streamlined application that is super easy to fill out. It's just a Google form and they will connect back with that student within a day or so. Okay. And last but not least, I wanted to cover, I don't know if it's going to let me. Okay, yeah, I wanted to make sure that you guys saw the newly revamped testing lab page. So the Center for Student Success also houses our testing lab. And so even though we're virtual, it is very much still in operation and alive and is proctoring on a daily basis. So with that though came a lot of changes, including Lana Lakin. Many of you knew her, loved her. She deservedly retired. And so our new testing proctor is Carissa Shea. She's awesome. And she has really stepped in, and she also has a partner in crime, Ariel, who many of you might know from our allied health program. Is it medical assisting, Ariel? Am I just want to make sure?
Yes, ma'am.
She's an instructor in our medical assisting program. She also is she calls herself a CSS floater, but she's so much more than that. So she's a tech guru, jack of all trades again, and she's been helping. She was an integral part in working with Carissa to transition the testing lab to online. So Ariel, did you want to hit just briefly on 2 or 3 highlights? I know a newsletter just went out to all of you, but take it away, Ariel. Just quick 2-3 bullet points that you want to share.
No problem. So the most important thing for the Jackson College Testing Lab from instructors is that we just need communication with you. So as you reach out to us and have any questions, we're happy to answer. The biggest part is we can't answer any questions if we don't know any information. So a lot of times instructors reach out and they're just like, hey, you know what, it says that you guys have limited availability. What's your availability this week? Well, the issue with that is what kind of course is it? How long is the test going to be? We can't tell you our availability till we know that information. So when you're reaching out to us, if you could just remember those few things or fill out the forms that we gave. They were all emailed out yesterday, so you should have seen an email from Karen about that as she sends us all the great information every semester. One of the biggest things in the newsletter that I want to make sure everybody pays attention to is a new cancellation policy. So since we are virtual, our time is limited, and we have noticed an issue with students kind of just making appointments and then no showing, no calling. They'll just say, oh, I forgot or something like that. The problem with that is that they take up time that other students really could have wanted or needed, and we were unable to give to them. So we instituted a new cancellation policy. So just refer to the newsletter for that. Students will be aware of that. This isn't a change for them. Pretty much we always say, hey, you don't need to cancel, but now we've kind of just inputted a policy, and it will be on each and every communication to them as well. One last thing too, Monica, before we kind of get off of the Center for Student Success. I know we mentioned a lot about what the Center for Student Success does. We actually have a video on our tutoring center page. It's about 2 minutes. It's kind of like an infomercial that you can embed the link into your JetNet course if you would like, just to give your students a little tip and say, hey, the CSS is still around. We're still here to help you. Here's what we do. If you need help planning out your week, we're here to help. If you need help studying or anything like that, we're here. So just remember, the Center for Student Success is not only a resource for you as instructors, but also for your students.
Thank you, Ariel. And then even though we're more than just tutoring, tutoring is a major thing that goes on in the center. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the online tutoring page. So again, if you go right out to our website, you can learn everything there is to know about online on-demand tutoring, as it's now called. Thankfully, Terry Anderson, our SI guru, he went through a leadership academy in which he created an online on-demand tutoring model right before the pandemic hit. So funny, we were so fortunate with that, the timeline of that happening, because we were well prepared to make that transition. So oftentimes now our busiest tutoring is happening at night and on the weekends. So we kind of knew that shift would happen. But now our tutoring again is by appointment. They use Calendly, which is something they're very familiar with because that's how they communicate and meet with their navigators in the admissions process. So it's super easy. So if they need help in, say, Bio 132, they can click on Caitlin's schedule, enter a little information, and then make that connection with them, whether it's a 30-minute meeting, 60-minute meeting. Of course, if time allows, it can go over that. And then they can immediately see, they being the student, Caitlin's availability. And then they'll say, okay, I'm going to do some studying tomorrow. So then they'll click on that day, and then they can see the times that Caitlin has made herself available for that day and make an appointment. Super easy. It's had great response. I don't know if we'll ever go back in terms of how to set up appointments with tutors. So it's been a blessing in disguise for students. Very much meeting the student where they're at.
I will note too in the video I talked about, sorry, I was just gonna say, I'll note too in the video I talked about, it has a step-by-step process on how to schedule an online tutor. So if your course is one of the ones that our peer tutors do deliver for, just know in that video how to schedule is in there, how to schedule is there as well.
Thank you, Ariel. So again, that's it. If there's any questions, can the Writing Center help CEP students? I believe we have in the past, but it's a little clunky, as you can imagine, because I believe it's done through the email system. Am I right, Virginia, or no? Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm getting the thumbs up from her. So yes, there's help. It is, like I said, obviously due to different sites parameters, it's a little bit different looking, but yes, we can help with that. The cohort, yes, Candace, absolutely. The 2019 cohort couldn't have come at a better time. And I think that brings us to the end of the questions. If there aren't any other questions, I'll just end it with a little bit of humor, or actually it's not humor because I take it very seriously. But for those that know me, know I am a diehard Green Bay Packer fan. And if you haven't noticed, we're having a great year. Or not we, they are having a great year. So go Pack, go.
Well, I definitely agree with that, Monica, because I'm a diehard Packers fan too. I know Michigan, but Packers fan, hey, it's what it is, from being from Northern Michigan. So with that being said, we'll take a break until 10:15, and then we'll kick off with Jen Adams from the library and all the great things that she has from there. So we'll give about 8 minutes, and then we'll get started right back at 10:15. So again, I'll be around. If I'm gonna pause the recording really quick, so if there's any questions, please let me know while we take this little break, a stretch break to get around and then finish up strong with everything and follow-up questions. So. Recording right now from the library and our great system from there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jen Adams, and you're going to see me now, and I'm going to shut off my video because my connection's pretty bad here, so I don't want to screw up my screen share. Okay. So let me see here, screen share. Bear with me, please. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, thank you. So, yes, I'm Jen Adams, and we do still have a library available for you guys, and we have a lot of virtual services that you may not be aware of, some you may be, but just want to emphasize that myself, Jen Fierro, and Melissa Bilbro are 3 librarians, and we have a lot of things to help your instruction efforts. So let's see. You see our website here, and this is where you can access a lot of the links that I'm going to give you. Our website is going through an overhaul. It looks like the other pages on our JC website at the moment, but pretty soon it's going to look a little bit more like this screen with the bright colored bubbles, and it's going to be much more intuitive than it is now and easier for students to find links. And we're really trying to get rid of jargon like the term reference. You know, students don't know what these things are. We're going to be a little more friendly with our language. And we kind of consider ourselves partners with the CSS because really this all falls under the umbrella of academic support, and we're all here to kind of provide holistic support to our students. Okay. So I'm just going to focus on a few different things right now, 3 different things. First, our faculty resources guide. And I'll click on this. Jen Fierro has created a fantastic guide for faculty that includes a lot of services that we offer and more. The first thing I want to talk about is our instruction link. We do offer instruction for all of you, and we have a form for you to fill out. So I think a lot of you have requested that we visit your classes before the pandemic. I've really enjoyed going out to all the campuses and talking about library stuff. Well, we still do that very much. And someone who has transitioned seamlessly is Marie Anderson. If you want to talk to her, she still is asking us to do this virtually. She's a good example of using this service, but you would still use this form. And I think in the past, in my experience in libraries, there's been like this librarian who comes into your class for an hour and says, this is what I'm going to talk about. Well, that's not what we do. We will talk about exactly what you want us to, and we're going to meet your students where they are with specific customized topics and time lengths. So for instance, some instructors want us to talk about how to cite sources using APA, and then maybe talk about scholastic journals. Others want us to talk about MLA and evaluating resources. It's just, there's a smattering of things we can discuss, and it's really all up to you. We don't want to take up too much of your time. So here's the instruction request form for you to fill out. It's pretty simple. And we also would like you to submit an assignment if you would, because it's really nice for us to connect that with our instructions. So anyway, that service is available. And now I think I'd like to bounce over to our website. So rather than going to specific links, I'm going to show you how to get to these things from our homepage. And by the way, after this, I will send out, or Tom will send out links to the specific things that I'm talking about. So under academics here, if you hover over this, we have our library link. And again, the look and feel of this will change, but the links will still be here. And pretty much everything I'm talking about you can find on our homepage, and you will be able to after the site is revamped. And thanks in advance to Ashley, who completely helped us with our website. So let's see here. Our faculty resources guide is available right here on the left menu, like I was just at. And I'm not going to go over all of the links here besides the instruction form, but I do want to tell you that we have a finding OER guide that Jen Fierro put together also. It's a fantastic resource if you don't know about open educational resources. She is there to help you find resources that you can use for open education textbooks or supplemental curricular information. And it's really top grade quality scholarly information. This isn't just stuff people throw on the web. It's excellent, and it's open, and she's here to show you where this is. She has she has resources listed by discipline. And for this Finding OER link, there are a lot of repositories from different institutions across the US with these resources available. And some of them are specifically for textbook collections, and then others are for supplemental materials. Anyway, it's just an endless bank of resources for you guys. And I would hope you would talk to Jen to let her help you find some of these things. So just wanted to plug that. Next, for our faculty resources guide, we have the CEP tab here. And clearly things are very different now. Our pre-pandemic process for for research is not happening right now at all. We're not taking research requests at all. However, we are starting to do a streamlined process for this whole program, which is turning out to be fantastic. We realized that we had only one opportunity to get information into the facilities to the students with the distance education model. So we had started last semester to create a research packet for each student on certain topics. And Nina Knight and I, English faculty, we're working together to create these packets for other courses. So I just want to throw that out there. And we presented in December, and Tom can tell you about this probably, where to find that presentation recorded, I believe. That'll give you a lot more information on our streamlined process that's coming up, and we do want to carry over post-pandemic. Right. Now I want to show you a resource that I'm truly excited about, and it is extremely relevant to for the virtual environment. It's our Canopy collection, and if you don't know about this, it's so great. So the easiest way to get to this, there is a direct link, but if you are on our website here, you can go to the A to Z list of databases and simply go to K for Canopy. It's not C, so it's a little different. Let's see here. So if you click on this, it will ask for your JC login, you or your students. And it's going to look very much like Netflix, a Netflix interface. I can't tell you the great resources that are in here. I believe there are in excess of 33,000 films and documentaries. And I mean, believe me, I look at some of these independent films at home for fun. This is a rabbit hole if you guys like films. But if you look at the browse link here, many films and documentaries on the arts, Criterion Collection, PBS, HBO documentaries, totally available to you. The library is footing the bill for all these. And just to give you an idea of what can be done with these, let's just go to business here. So under business, I hear some business instructors saying they want to talk to their students about business case studies. So for instance, here's business case studies topic. And we have a range of films here on this topic. Under entrepreneurs, and this is a good thing. I know there's a lot of research that students do focusing on a particular entrepreneur. For instance, we have this film called The Inventor. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. It's a great film. Let's see. So this tells you a little bit about it. Very recent. This one is in 2019 by Alex Gibney, fantastic producer. The full film is here, but I want to tell you what you can do in JetNet with this. So if you click on this little share button, you have the option to either copy this link directly and place that into JetNet, or if you click on the embed link, this is the code for you to have the video embedded into JetNet, so students can just click play. They will have to log in once they choose play, but it's really a fantastic way, these films, to supplement your instruction. They're just very engaging, and a lot of them are only 30 minutes. So, and YouTube is great. We love YouTube, but we do have really high quality academic stuff here, and you don't have to worry about any kind of copyright, issues with this because we have a subscription. Last, I just wanted to tell you, let's see here. Under more, you can have a transcript. These are entirely ADA compliant. And my personal favorite, the citation tool, which shows you that this is academic. You can just choose your style and your students can copy this. So really, really cool stuff. And actually last, I want to plug one more thing. we have chosen one of these films to use during Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday week. We're having events that week, and I love that we're using Canopy as a resource. We're going to be asking people, we can't have a group showing, unfortunately, in these days, but this is a great film that we have chosen for the purpose of having a film discussion. So students, faculty, anyone is encouraged to watch this film, and then afterward we're going to have a discussion about it, and that is going to be, let me see, the Wednesday of that week, which is January 20th, and you'll get more information about this. But just wanted to throw that out there. So for Canopy, please let us know. We can help you find films for your courses, depending on the content, depending on your outcomes. So we are a resource and we are here for you. Moving on to our tutorials. These are fantastic tools. I'm going to go to our resource guides here. I'll talk about these in a minute. So we have just begun a bank of tutorials. We only have a few right now, but they are definitely tools that can help you. They're point of need resources for students. And this is important because students are looking for help now immediately. They don't have time to wait. If they're not sure who to talk to, we have these very short assessment pieces for them that'll teach them how to use our tools, and it doesn't take any of your time and instruction. So these are things that you can use as assignments for them, as assessment pieces, and we're really proud of them. So let me see. The discovery search tutorial is one that we love to tell, we love to talk about, because we have we have well over 100 academic databases, and it's very overwhelming for students to know where to start with them. So that's why our discovery search, which throws all of our databases into one search, is a really important thing for students to know about. It's very much like Google, and it helps them really refine a search on a topic they might not know too much about. So using this tool, here is a little tutorial on it. And this is just to show you the first screen. And you can see from this first question, we want to get an idea of what students know. And we know that most of them are going to go to Google or Wikipedia, and that's fine. We want to make sure they don't feel penalized by that, because using those other tools it's very resourceful. No shaming here with students. So anyway, this is just the first screen. This shows you how we start to get information from them. And there's a total of 9 slides here, and I believe this takes about 12 minutes. So plugging this tutorial for you. Let me see, I'm going to show you one more of these. Oh yes, absolutely. This is super, super important. We talked yesterday about the things that are going on in the Capitol, and that a lot of it stems from misinformation, and we have tools here in the library to help students and everyone with this problem. And after yesterday, we're realizing that we want to step up our game on this tutorial and this topic. So we have an evaluating online resources tutorial that is located in our fact checker guide. This guide is going to expand a lot. And I don't have to tell you how important this is, but we are starting with one basic tutorial that Jen Fierro has done, and it's on basic fact checking. And fact checking is a little different than we've been trained to learn in the past. I think it used to be, and fairly recently, that we would teach students to, when you're in a website, simply go to the About link to find out about the person or company who created the site. Well, that doesn't fly anymore, because there is so much insidious information out there that looking at the About link, you could be looking at something that's completely untrue, where the person isn't who they say they are. So instead of that, we're taking this from more of a fact checker stance, doing a lateral search, which means students need to go to other sources, these websites, to see what's valid. Anyway, long story short, this tutorial and video set can really give students an excellent foundation on how to navigate these crazy, waters of the internet and everything else that's on there. And this consists right now of a short video that teaches them how to become a fact checker, followed by a little quiz to see if they have paid attention during their video, and then a full tutorial on fact checking. And what we're going to do beyond this basic video is create other tutorials that are specific to social media fact checking, fake news, and newspaper fact checking. So that is coming soon. All right. Moving on to students. These are the items I'm going to quickly cover, the sources that we have specific for your students as opposed to just you. This is information that students can access directly. So starting with our discovery search here, which is on our homepage, the first thing that they come to is the discovery search. And I just explained a little bit about this. We have thousands of full text academic journal articles accessible through this, as well as over 300,000 ebooks. So fantastic resource for students. And next we have our resource guides. These are what we call LibGuides. It's a one-stop shop for credible information on specific topics. So this is a growing list, and we have things like, for instance, citing sources. We have an entire guide on citing sources. Contains things like short videos about citing sources, plagiarism. We cover MLA and APA. So just please let your students know that these guides are available to them. You can see the full list here, but I won't spend any more time on that. Just know that they're there. And going back to our home page, very, very importantly, during the pandemic, our biggest tool, our weapon, has been our library chat. So on our homepage, there's this little tab here that pops out if students want to start to engage in a chat. It's also over here on the left, chat with the librarian. And this is very cool. This is a service we've had for a long time. And believe it or not, it's 24/7. Students can start a chat at 2 in the morning asking how they're supposed to cite a website in MLA or anything else. And there will be a librarian available. How do we do this? Well, we partner with some of the academic libraries in Michigan, like Michigan State, Washtenaw, and everyone gets together and shares a shift to cover. And our librarians cover certain shifts. So this is a fantastic resource. The librarians from other institutions have access to our databases, so they can walk our students through that. But since the pandemic started, we've kind of stepped up our game so that JC librarians are on call during our entire shifts for JC library chats. So we've set it up so that as soon as we log in the morning, our chat is on. And if a student happens to log in and has a question, it pops up on our screen and we can answer that. So generally, we're on chat from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. most nights of the week and Sunday afternoons. So you guys can tell your students that. And if we're not on, there will be another librarian on who will either answer their question or field it to us. Very good tool. Oh, and also with this chat feature, recently a Zoom feature was added to it, which is really great for me when I'm, writing, texting, whatever, chatting with students. It's really nice for me to be able to share my screen and give a visual when we're looking at database information. Almost done here, guys. Also from our homepage, we have a one-on-one online appointment with students. If they want to spend a little more time with us on a certain topic or, researching a paper, an assignment, they can actually make a one-on-one appointment with us. We can cover certain general topics with them or just work on specific assignments. They can choose their date, they can choose their librarian. And I've spent, actually, I admit once I spent 2 hours with a student, but that's what we love to do. And we share our screen, and it's just a really nice environment, and it feels a little more like we're on campus face to face. Let's see. Last thing about the website here is that, God, could I have any more windows open here? The one physical service that we do still have intact, or actually which restarted, is our circulation of our print books. And if some of you don't know, we are partnered with JDL Library downtown, and we have circulation exchanges with our print books. So now we have BJ back on campus, our library associate, 3 days a week to process holds, and so the print books are moving now again. And if your students do want to check out books, they will need a library card. And at this point, it is a virtual library card, which I think it should have been in the first place. But we have this form, and again, I will provide this link afterward. So students, all they need to do is fill out this form, submit it, and BJ will hook them up with the library barcode. And then they can place books on hold for our library, for any public JDL library downtown. And at this point, because campus is closed, they're able to pick up those books at any JDL library in Jackson. So, very last thing before I go, wanted to share with you some data we have collected recently. We have an About the Library tutorial, actually, the tutorial, it's very short, it has a video. At the end of that tutorial, we added a short survey. And a lot of students have taken this tutorial because it's part of Jet Ready. So they have to take the tutorial. And I think at this point for fall semester, we had about 410 students take the tutorial. Well, the survey at the end of the tutorial is not required. It's totally optional. So there's really no incentive for them to take that. But as of today, we have, I think, at least 90 respondents, which we thought was pretty good for students with no incentive. So one of the questions we asked is about their library experience. Have they gone to public libraries? Have they used a high school library? We want to know how prepared they are coming in. And as you can see from this, the large majority have never used any kind of library, whether it's public, high school, whether it's online or face-to-face in the last 2 years before they have come to JC. That was really telling for us. So this tells us that when they come here, we definitely cannot assume that they're going to know to use our library sources or to even know what they are. And we found that students will go directly to Google for any assignment, which is understandable if that is all they know. So this tells us that they're not going to seek us out and we need to go to them. And we really appreciate it if you guys could market our services too. And we need to meet students where they are. And because they don't know a lot of these things, this is another good use for our tutorials to fill this skills and learning gap. If you all, I'm sure, don't have time during your instruction to tell them how to do some of these things. So anyway, very long-winded. That is all I have for my tutorial here, for my presentation. How do I do this? Stop share. There we go. That's it. Thanks, guys. And I haven't even looked if you guys have questions yet.
Jennifer, there were some questions about Canopy and CEP. My sense is that all of those things would have to be streamed and would need internet. And I'm not sure that they could be captured and sent into CEP in the future. Could you address any of those questions?
I can, and there have actually been a number of instructors asking this about downloadable video. At this point, Canopy is not able to be downloaded, although I just asked our rep a few weeks ago if this was possible. She was extremely intrigued by the reasons why we were asking, because of our CEP program, because it's amazing to anyone who asked about it. And she's actually going to their administration to see if it's possible. I'm not sure what'll happen. They're a big company, but we can help students, I'm sorry, we can help instructors find videos that you can download. There are a lot of different ways we can do that, but if any instructors want to ask us, we can help. Unfortunately, Canopy, we cannot at the moment, but we're always looking for more resources for this, like a collection of actually downloadable videos. We're looking into that right now. So it's a big question.
Thank you very much.
You're
Jen, I have a quick question. I was looking at some movies the other day, and I noticed that a lot of them were restricted for 18 and over. So if majority of my classroom is dual enroll under 18, do I need to get like parents' permission to show the video, or what can I do in order to, add those movies or documentaries in my course?
That's a good question, Marie. We haven't been asked that yet, and you're right. We don't really have any way of restricting the students once they go in. We have the same problem with library cards because, there is a youth library card that younger students are supposed to have, but we don't have any control over that. I guess the way that we see it generally is that if this person is a JC student, they're going to have access to all of the students' resources, that the library offers. We can talk about that. I'm not really sure what to tell you about that, because if they have a JC login, they can access it. I don't know. I'm willing to look into that more. I don't know if I want to try and restrict content, that might be hard, and it's obviously kind of a censorship thing that I don't dig very much, but can we talk about that, Marie, via email? Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Awesome. All right, guys, I think that's all I have. Thank you, Tom.
And then, Jen, there was a question about other research material for papers, like for other departments that's not English 131 and 132. Is there any way that for CEP that they'll be able to get research material in, or would that be included in their page limits for the semester?
So that is a part of our CEP streamlining plan that we're delving into right now. And we did this for English last semester, 131 and 132. This does involve streamlined topics. So it would be a matter of instructors, we would get together and try to decide on a few topics that students would have pre-chosen, and we would provide research packets that they would get at the beginning. And the answer to the page limit is good news. No, it does not. It is not included in the page count. This is completely separate. And we were able to add 200 pages to students' resources. And we definitely are looking at areas outside of English. Right now, we're looking at art with Tom, but we're going to be looking at others too. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, we'd love to expand this a lot. It's just going to take a little time, but long answer to that is absolutely yes.
But please know, everybody, that date has came and went for winter. We will not be able to do any changes for winter, with the exception possibly of Cooper Street, which will be detailed on the 20th at our CEP training.
Well, perfect. Jen, thank you very much for that. Again, I've seen that presentation. I've had it in my class, and I learned something new today too. So that kind of is helpful for me, definitely. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. Are there anyone have any comments or questions or anything that they would like to say before we head off of this? And like I said, I will get this up. Once it processes and uploaded, I will email everyone with the links that we had today, the extra videos for about the attendance, the items that Zach had talked about, and and Nate had talked about, and with Monica too. So if there is anything for the good of the order, please reach out, and I'll be around for a little bit too. So. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And again, hey, we start on Monday, and we'll get the ground rolling, and we'll move forward. And if you have any questions, I'm always here. Heather's here too, and David Mosby and Karen Hockner, and reach out to all of us for questions if you have anything, and we'll go from there. And then Riley, that question, it will be in JetNet because that is not for CEP, since they're not a synchronous session. If they're not meeting at a certain time, they'll always be in JetNet because there's not a way to do that in Jetstream yet. It's on the list of asking Lucian, but it's not there yet. So that's why we're using JetNet for attendance. And I will stop the recording now.